Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Monday, April the 11th, 2016. Here are our top stories.
Tonight, American voters are finally waking up to the reality that your vote doesn't count, as both the Democrats and Republican parties steal delegates from Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
So I watch Bernie, he wins, he keeps winning. And then I see he's got no chance. They always say he has no chance. Why doesn't he have a chance? Because the system is corrupt.
Democrats have set up this race in a way that favors the person who establishes a large lead from the outset.
Right.
And it's hard to, when you're playing on those kind of rules, it's hard to climb out of the hole.
And look who's finally covering the 9/11 conspiracy. 60 Minutes does a full report on the 28 pages. All that plus much more up next on the Infowars Nightly News.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen.
For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2.
I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there.
Take advantage of this at InfoWarsLife.com.
Well, Colorado held its GOP caucus this weekend. Oh, no, wait. It was canceled. I'm sorry. Oh, here it is right here. Denver Post, Colorado Republicans cancel the presidential vote at the 2016 caucus.
So they're competing to join the Republican Party as our nominee, depending on what the delegates decide to do or who wins the requisite amount of delegates.
Well, sort of.
And whoever that is joins. That's what they're doing, though. They're competing to be the nominee of the Republican Party.
Yes,
that's
but they're competing to become the president of the United States. And so they are looking for voters, all voters,
right,
to vote for them. I mean, my point is this, Ron.
Yeah, good question, Curly. See, the GOP has been telling you for a very long time that these elections mean something. But you ought to understand by now they don't. They're just a head fake. It's just a beard for them to do whatever they wish to do. Take a look at this article. They admit it. They say, well, it means that the caucus is going to lose a lot of its hype. It also means that they're going to lose a lot of advertising money for the local economy. That's how you scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's what the major political parties do with the mainstream media. They spend tons and tons of money on these political ads, and just isn't working for them very well this year. Having a lot of trouble getting the donors to cough up the cash, so let's just forget the charade. Let's just go right to the selection process, because it's not an election, it's a selection. The Denver Post said there was an effort earlier this year to switch to a presidential primary system, but it failed. Why? Because of fighting within the party. See, they already had a caucus system. Some people wanted to make something that was a little bit more transparent, a little bit more honest, but instead they decided to go the other way, even abandoning the caucus. And as one political science lecturer at the University of Georgia says, it's an odd scenario. It's not to say the campaigns won't be there. There just won't be a good reflection of support. You see, they're not pretending to care anymore. Trump may have the most votes so far, but
all he has going for him is a lot of votes. Why hasn't any of that hit home?
That's right. All he has is a bunch of votes, representing a bunch of voters, and they can just throw that out. You see, the rhinos have gone full RICO. Remember, racketeered influence and corrupt organizations? We created a law that was supposed to get rid of the mafia. The Bush crime family is not a metaphor. It's not a hyperbole. It's a reality. Same as the Clinton crime family. If we get rid of the Clintons and the Bushes, though, the system is still rigged by these two mafia organizations, the GOP and the Democrats. It doesn't matter if you got the Gambinos or the Gottis, you can get different families in there. It's the system, it's the mafia system that we have. Just look at this headline from Bloomberg. Cruz campaign outmuscles Trump in a 34-delegate Colorado sweep. See, they didn't steal it, they outmuscled him. They even talk like they're mafia gangsters. And then the New York Times tries to sell it to us and says, well, the campaigns seek delegates and ordinary voters feel sidelined. No, it's just an ordinary process. You shouldn't feel hurt about this. You need to understand this is the way they run the campaign. See, the New York Times, the mainstream media wants you to get over that feeling that you're being screwed. Okay, that they're lying to you. They say if supporters of Trump and Sanders feel stymied by the delegate process, it's because it was designed years ago, precisely to make sure that candidates like them didn't become the nominee. See, they aren't the insiders. They don't toe the line on the important policies. And the important policies this year are the global trade treaties, climate change, and open borders. Now, Bernie does it on two of those, but he's not there on one of those, and that's enough to keep him out. They go on and say, like any private members-only club, this is New York Times writing about this. See, this is the club. This is a club. And remember what George Carlin said?
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. The owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Again, it's a private club and you ain't in it. They say the political parties are not official government entities. No, they just play them on television. If they're not official government entities, then why are they allowed to control the ballot access? Why are they allowed to control access to the debates? That's even more obvious. It's the Republicans and Democrats who took over that process because the League of Women Voters screwed up. They let people like Ross Perot in. You can't have that. So they took over the debate process, and quite frankly, they run the entire ball of wax. And we need to understand, and we need to look at this. This isn't just a moral or ethical issue. This truly is, I believe, a criminal issue. These people are running this as a racketeered organization, a corrupt organization. They say that it's a private party when it suits their needs, but then they act as if they're government entities when it suits their needs to be that way. They say that it's a private party, and so they can discriminate as they wish. They can throw out the votes of anyone and any group that they want to. And yet they are open to the public. We see over and over again. Look at the egregious, I think they crossed over the line when they came after bakers and said, no, you've got an open business, so we're going to force you not to discriminate. But they let the GOP and the Democrats get away with that. They also are accepting government subsidies, government funds. You can't discriminate when you do that sort of thing. Now, Donald Trump says, yeah, the process is corrupt on both sides. He accurately said, hey, I watch Bernie, he wins, he keeps winning. Then I see he's got no chance. They always say, he's got no chance. Why doesn't he have a chance? He said, because the system is corrupt. And it's even worse on the Republican side, he said. I'm not a fan of Bernie. I couldn't care less as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't care less about Bernie, but he wins, and he wins like me.
We've got a corrupt system. It's not right. We're supposed to be a democracy. We're supposed to be, you vote and the vote means something, all right? You vote and the vote means something.
We ought to all be concerned about this, regardless of where you are on the issues, regardless of whether you like Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. You should not be supporting a corrupt system. And the thing that bothers me so much is that I see Republicans, many of them entranced by the public piety of Ted Cruz, falling in lockstep behind this unethical, immoral, and I believe illegal process. But at the very least, it's unethical and immoral, saying it's simply politics. No, it's not. If you vote to send Mr. Smith to Washington, you don't expect them to send Mr. Jones. If you voted for a Democrat, you don't expect them to send a Republican, or vice versa. You vote for a Republican, they send a Democrat. This is not like you are lobbying your representative in Congress with a representative republic. No, it's not that. They've been elected for one issue and one issue only, and they are subverting this issue. That's all this is. It's not politics as usual. This is not somebody that's going to represent you on a lot of different issues. Look at how it worked for Bernie. The New York Post points out it's a rigged race. Not our characterization, but it is certainly true. I would characterize it the same way. The New York Post says rigged race means Hillary takes more delegates than Bernie's Wyoming win. It's a different state, it's a different party, but it's the same game. Look at what happened. He beat Hillary Clinton by 56 to 44. He beat her by 12 points. That means that he had 27% more votes. But who got more delegates? Hillary got 57% of the delegates. So he got 27% more of the popular vote, but they split the popular vote 7 and 7. Then she got 4 superdelegates, means she got 11 delegates, he got 7. He gets 27% more of the votes, she gets 57% more of the delegates. Totally upside down. Politico reports the Colorado GOP deletes their Never Trump tweet. Moments after announcing Ted Cruz has swept all 34 delegates at the Colorado GOP convention on Saturday, the state party tweeted, "We did it! Never Trump!" And then they deleted that. They said, wait, we didn't do that. Somebody else did it. They blamed it on a couple of young Republican operatives, but they both said they don't have access to it. They had nothing to do with it. This isn't something we haven't seen the party leadership continually doing. They're open about this. It's been unprecedented what the press has done. When we see the Onion headlines from the Boston Herald, when we see the National Review dedicate an entire issue as an attack piece against one candidate. It is unprecedented what we've seen. And the reason you're seeing it is not because of who Donald Trump is, but because he opposes them on the issues. He opposes them on their neocon wars. He opposes them on their globalist trade. Both of these issues are destroying our country by design. And the establishment of the Democrats and Republicans are both together on those issues. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting about this Politico article is that they don't spend a lot of time about that tweet. That's the headline of the tweet. But then they spend at least half of the article talking about the fact that this one guy's name did not appear on the ballot. Now, there were a lot of people who didn't appear on the ballot. Many Trump delegates did not appear on this delegate ballot that was done by the insiders. They had Cruz delegates put on there. But that doesn't matter. The thing they were concerned about was that this one particular individual, his name is Larry Singer, brother of Paul Singer, a Wall Street financial backer of the GOP to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And this is the way they explain this. They say, well, they found out that his name was on there. They were very concerned about this. It's going to have a very lasting impact, according to Politico. So the person who was in charge of this tried to remedy the problem by putting his name on the ballot to run as one of the 13 at-large delegate slots that were up for grabs. So immediately he makes special concessions for this guy. Larry Singer, they say, well, he is, they say, unlike all the other delegate candidates in one way. He's a brother of Paul Singer, the New York City hedge fund magnate, one of the conservative movement's most coveted donors, a 7-figure contributor, et cetera, et cetera. And here's the money quote, the literal money quote from one local GOP operative. He says, this is the one guy who wants to get on, who the party should recognize we need to get on, because he basically pays for all of this. There you go. They're bought and paid for. And what really concerns me is how upfront they are about this. Yeah, he's paid for. And we're fine about the fact that we're stealing the delegates, even bragging about it. And of course, red state is one of the worst ones. Here, look at these headlines. Breaking, North Carolina delegate disaster brewing. John Kasich leads Donald Trump. Now in North Carolina, the real results were that Donald Trump got 40% of the vote, but he's going to get 4% of the delegates. He's getting 4% so far. Cruz got 37% of the delegates, but he's getting 88% so far, okay? And they've got almost all of the delegates allocated in North Carolina. In South Carolina, where Trump skunked everyone, he got, even though it was a proportional election, he got every single delegate in the election. But then when it comes to the selection, the GOP establishment is handing it to Ted Cruz. Same story there. Doing the same thing in districts in Virginia where Trump did very well. And then Politico says this: Trump is getting trounced in Indiana. Wait a minute. Indiana hasn't voted yet. Yeah, see, it doesn't matter. They're already spreading the delegates out even before they have the election. As they say, Indiana hasn't cast its ballots for president yet, but Trump is already losing. Republican Party insiders in the state will select 27 delegates to the National Convention. Let me repeat that. Republican Party insiders will select the delegates. Remember, they're trying to join us. It's our private party, even though we are running it with all the power of government. Trump is assured to be nearly shut out of support, according to interviews with a dozen party leaders and officials involved in the delegate selection process. You get that? A dozen insiders. Well, some people are not happy with the system that we have. We have Democracy Spring protests in D.C. So joining me now to talk about what happened and who's organizing this and also what they say they won is Leanne McAdoo. Welcome, Leanne.
Well, David, now when we reported on this about a month ago, Democracy Spring, they were telling everyone this was just going to be this massive civil disobedience, threatening drama that Washington, D.C. would not be able to ignore. And now if you go to any of the mainstream media news outlets, no one is talking about it. They're absolutely
They do have drama, but they're ignoring it.
Yeah. More like almost 200 people have been arrested reportedly at this point. They remained on the Capitol steps. And so all of these people, it's actually the most arrests that have been made at the Capitol. And so there's some more historical.
How many people do they have there?
Well, there looked to be thousands from the video. There was quite a lot of people there, but they were just arresting them. They had special buses just to take away these people because they were planning on it. And these people involved in Democracy Spring were having a few months of training to be arrested. And they had all sorts of things. This is what you need to bring: money, cash, whatever. And, if you're willing to be arrested.
Well, now they just had a smoke out of marijuana at the White House and nobody got arrested. 2 people got ticketed for a $25 fine. They were very chilled about that. And they all thought they were going to get arrested. What was happening at this demonstration that people got arrested?
There's a particular, they must not have been in the free speech zone.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, free speech, I forgot. This goes back to all you liberals who are making fun of Cliven Bundy and his neighbors who are standing up to this tyranny. That was where they said there was a free speech area. The people out there said, no, free speech isn't an area, okay? Now, you made fun of that. You need to stand with people like that. People from the left and the right need to stand together or they're going to shut us all down.
Right, and that's absolutely it. It's that it's time for us to start standing together because Democracy Spring is never going to work. As you can see, the establishment media didn't even report on any of you being arrested. They didn't even report on these protests. It's not going to work unless we stand together. But it's this divide and conquer that crushes us throughout lifetimes.
All right, when we come back, we're going to look at who's organizing this and what they say they want. Stay with us.
This is an American president. Just add puppet, then vote and repeat every 4 years.
Please take a moment to listen to what I'm about to break down very, very carefully, because the information I'm about to lay out in just 2 minutes changed my life and changed the life of many, many people around me. I was a big sports enthusiast, but loved to eat like a pig when I was 10 years old up to about 22 or so. And I ran 6 miles every other day and lifted weights almost every day and had a great physique. Then I got into radio and television 21 years ago and got so busy in my work, I stopped working out. And everything was okay for 4 or 5 years, but then suddenly I started putting on pounds every month. And in the next 10 years, I gained almost 100 pounds. Then about 7 years ago, I began jogging, swimming long distances, and lifting weights again, trying to lose weight, and was only able to lose about 20 of the 98 pounds. I even changed my diet. I even increased the exercise. It didn't work. But as soon as I began to get the nutrients and compounds that I needed, my whole life changed. I've gone from 200 and almost 80 pounds down to about 220 pounds or so. It is incredible. And in just the last 3 years, Super Male Vitality, developed by Dr. Group for InfoWarsLife.com exclusively, and products like the Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine have just done incredible things for my body. I work out less. Even though I'm older, I've lost more weight. My muscles got stronger, my stamina, my libido, and so much more. The truth is, we went out to bring you the very best we could, true game-changing products. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and secure your Super Male or Female Vitality and X2 True Nascent Iodine today, and hopefully start your journey towards living a more natural, focused, clean life. There's a lot of other excellent nutraceuticals we've developed, and also third-party ones that we sell at InfoWarsLife.com that are excellent. But the two game changers that I believe if you order them are most likely to really give you the biggest bang for your buck are Super Male Vitality and Female Vitality, and of course, X2 Nascent Iodine. Take the challenge, visit InfoWarsLife.com today, and secure your nutraceuticals. At the same time, know that you're funding the fight for freedom worldwide. Thank you for your support.
Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
Welcome back. We've just been talking about the Democracy Spring demonstrations in Washington. A massive number of arrests, over 200 people arrested. They said there was going to be a lot of drama that couldn't be ignored, but it is being ignored by the mainstream media. Who's organizing this, Leanne?
Right. Well, now there are several groups that are behind this spontaneous revolution, this just civil disobedience that came out of nowhere. And it's been reported, this is coming out of Breitbart. So MoveOn.org, of course, has their tentacles in. They played a prominent role in organizing a lot of the anti-Trump activism. They helped shut down that rally there in Chicago. Another group is the Democratic Socialists of America, and their Chicago branch there, the DSA, actually helped to drive protesters to another Chicago Trump event. And the AFL-CIO, which is the nation's largest labor federation, also announced that they're all in behind Democracy Spring. And of course, one of their main objectives is to get big money out of politics. Meanwhile, they're funded by billionaires like George Soros, who are helping to activate their politicism.
And of course, this is vice chairman of the Open Society Foundation, Soros's Open Society Foundation, that is running Smartmatic.
Right.
This electronic voting machine company that began in Hugo Chavez's Venezuela to help him rig his elections. So we don't want to see that sort of thing. It's interesting that they don't have any issues about Bernie's Wyoming situation. They're not out there protesting that. They're actually trying to get arrested in Washington, I guess. But
right. Well, and that's why it's so important for young people that are involved in these things to understand how you're being used. You are being used as a useful idiot. They're having you go out to protest this. They say they want to claim the democracy that we were promised. They're holding this mass sit-in over the next 8 days so that they can get big money out of politics and ensure free and fair elections. Meanwhile, they're all championing the fact that the delegates are openly choosing who our presidents are going to be. They're saying your votes don't matter. They're completely canceling the voting there in Colorado.
It's totally naive to think that you're going to get big money out of politics when you got big power in government. The socialists want the government to make all the decisions in our lives. They want a big, powerful pig government that is centralized, and they don't realize that that's going to lead to corruption. What they've done is they've created this massive black hole that sucks in money and power and corruption. That's what's behind these so-called partnerships. And that's why the Democrats and Republicans are partnering with each other. The same way that we see these multinational corporations partnering to take down our sovereignty, to control our economy from abroad. It's the corruption, stupid. You're not going to, you can rail against crony capitalism, and yeah, it's a problem, but you can't have crony capitalism unless you first got crony socialism. Because these people are going to put their own people in, and when you allow the government to have that much say in your life, when you allow them to have that much say in the economy, then you guarantee that you're going to have a corrupt organization like we currently have in Washington. The problem is the concentration of power, and that's what the founders tried to set up in the Constitution. That's original design, which has now been thwarted, was to divide the power between the central government and the states and the people, and then to further subdivide the central government. So that was what they were really concerned about. And that's what we have seen has become the cancer, the black hole that is sucking everything up.
Right. And just like with Ferguson, how the entire country, if not the world, was rallying around, eyes were wide open to police, the militarization of the police. A lot of people wanted to, but then it was like divide and conquer. And that's exactly what's happening now with Democracy Spring, because they so do not want to see Trump as president. They don't care that the election is totally rigged. Meanwhile, they're ignoring the fact that it's also being rigged on the Democratic side there. Bernie Sanders is obviously bringing out the people, but the media keeps saying he has no chance. Hillary's smoking him on the delegates. There's no way. And to just kind of placate you so that when the election is given to Hillary Clinton, then you're just like, oh, well, that's how we are every single election cycle. Oh, well. And it's time for the oh, well to stop. But it's not going to if we can't work together.
Not when you have the socialists who are running this. It's the socialists who try to divide and conquer everybody by racial groups, by economic class.
Right.
We saw that happen with the Bundy Ranch, as I mentioned earlier. There you had a situation that was very much like Ferguson. Nobody at that point had been killed yet. But you had the government abusing the neighbors there, and you had government neighbor standing with neighbor against the government, and yet they spun that as a bunch of welfare ranchers and a bunch of white people who don't have any right to be upset because they're privileged. They just shut all that down, and instead what you need to have is the people unifying, because they're doing the same thing to the people out in the rural areas that they're doing to the people in the inner cities. They're doing the same things to the blacks that they're doing to the whites. We all need to come together on this. Instead, it's the socialists who will always subdivide everybody. It's the socialists who will concentrate power and then complain about the corruption.
Right. Well, I mean, even if you want to just see how your movement is being orchestrated and controlled, where was Black Lives Matter when the whole Flint crisis was exposed?
Yeah.
With the poisoning of the water there in a majority black community and total government corruption, I didn't see Black Lives Matter there. No, they were too busy rallying just at some particular thing that could spark some fury. I mean, it's so controlled. It's
Absolutely. Let's talk about another method of exposure, something else that got exposed this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Webcam fraud, okay?
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of people have been getting exposed by their webcams, as Alex Jones pointed out this weekend when he stripped off his shirt to show people, hey, this is what the FBI wants to see. He's been telling people about this for decades. It's been dismissed as you're a paranoid conspiracy theorist, but now that NPR reports that the FBI director does the same thing on his camera. And I thought it was interesting, Leanne, because what he said was, well, I saw people that were smarter than me were doing this, and I saw it on the news. I thought, well, that's interesting because it's being reported by NPR, and I'm sure he didn't see NPR talking about how the government was spying on you with your webcam.
Right.
So he may be a listener of ours. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's watching us one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying put some tape over your webcam forever. And I think it's really funny, you know, this is the FBI director admitting, oh, well, I put tape over my webcam and you should too. But he's also saying that, you know, it's the public needs to demand how the government is gathering information on them. They need to be aware. It needs to be open and honest. And meanwhile, he's also telling Apple that we can't have any encryption. And no, by the way, we're not going to tell you how we broke into the terrorist phone there with San Bernardino. But
because
now,
it's a matter of patriotism.
Yes,
and of course, one of the people who works for the ACLU tweeted out, he said, Mr. Comey, patriots don't cover their webcams.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a perfect comeback to this. Because, you know, what are you doing wrong that you need that kind of privacy? I mean, you know, what are you afraid of? I mean, we're only looking, as Eric Schmidt of Google said, you know, if you're doing nothing wrong, you got nothing to be afraid of. You ought to let anybody watch you like a creepy voyeur or like a big brother government.
Right.
Shouldn't have a problem with it.
Well, I don't do anything creepy in front of my camera, but for me, I just think, I don't know if you've ever opened up your phone accidentally with the flip camera in reverse, and it's just like, whoa, hideous. So I don't want someone spying on me through my...
Well, what's creepy about it is the voyeurism, and what's creepy about it and what's wrong about it is not you, but a government that does this without a warrant, without a reason to do it, without suspecting you as a criminal, treating everyone as if they were criminals and acting as if they had a warrant when they don't, in violation of the Constitution they swore to. That's what's really creepy about this.
And now, obviously, we've been reporting about this for a very long time. Alex has been called crazy for this, but this is out of 2013, reported by the Daily Mail. The FBI can spy on you through your webcam without triggering the indicator light and has had the technology for several years. But James Comey says he just found out about it from the news.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah.
And of course, it's interesting too to see that in defending Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama came out and said, talking about her emails, he said, well, there's classified and then there's classified. It's kind of like, depends on what the meaning of is, right? I did not have text with that woman, okay? He says, well, what I know, because I handle a lot of classified information, okay, he's president after all, right, is that there's classified and then there's classified. There's stuff that's really top secret, and then there's stuff that's being presented to the president or the secretary of state. You might not want on the transom or going out over the wire, but it's basically stuff that you could get in open source. Well, not unless your open source is Guccifer, okay? Right. The private conversations between the secretary of state and other heads of state are born classified. They don't have to be marked classified. And that's the prevarication that she's been doing. And of course, saying this weekend that this is just a security review. You don't grant immunity to people for a security review, okay? Right. That's what the FBI is doing, and Judge Napolitano has pointed out. They go to the lowest level people, grant them immunity, go to the mid-level people, start interviewing them, and then they go to the target of the investigation at the top. This is not a security review. You don't need to grant immunity for a security review.
Yeah, well, and just witnessing what's going on with the election, it's no wonder why she just laughs in our face and says, I'll never be in handcuffs.
Yeah. Then that brings us back to where these guys are, the RICO people. Stay with us.
A lot of people ask me, what is the most important area of Infowars that runs the whole operation that is having such a big effect against the globalists? And I've said it over and over again, it is you, the listeners and the viewers, that send us the intel, the news tips, that support the broadcast, that spread the word. You are 90% of the operation or more. You don't stand beside us, you stand at the heart of Infowars. When I talk about the people at Infowars, from customer service, the shipping department, being just as important as our anchors, our researchers, our investigative journalists, and myself, it's absolutely true. Without this team that we've built over the last 20 plus years, we wouldn't be able to do any of what we've been doing. And that's what's so exciting, because we finally built up to a point where we now have the launch pad. Introducing AutoShip for InfoWarsLife.com, a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWarsStore.com products. Again, ladies and gentlemen, when products are sold out, you're unable to get them, sometimes for months, but we hold back the products for people that have already signed up for AutoShip. When you choose AutoShip before checkout on your order at InfoWarsStore.com, we'll give you 10% off and give you guaranteed delivery of out-of-stock products that are on your AutoShip list. Plus, we're giving you free shipping on all orders above $50. Listeners have been requesting this for years because it's so easy to forget to reorder the products when you need them each month.
Now it's finally here. Auto ship at InfoWarsStore.com and InfoWarsLife.com. It's easy. Go to InfoWarsStore.com, select your favorite product, click on the auto ship, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. As you know, I coined the term 360 win, and with the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com, it's a sure win. You add to that free shipping on orders of $50, it is a can't lose. Visit InfoWarsStore.com and save 10% off on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout and get free shipping on all orders above $50. That's InfoWarsStore.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Your liver can be full of fatty deposits, built-up toxins, and even dangerous objects known as liver stones. We worked with the top developers in the field of detox to take tried and true herbs and other compounds known to safely cleanse the liver and fuse it with the latest research and technological development on concentrating these ingredients to give you the maximum effect. Liver Shield is the only liver support product on the market that uses a patented Spigyrex blend of powerful organic herbs that support detoxification. And when you visit InfoWarsLife.com, see the instructional video on how to do a 6-day liver detox. This isn't a game, and let me tell you, the results are dramatic. Liver Shield is totally organic and made of the safest high-quality herbs. Liver Shield is the only liver support product on the market that uses a patented Spigyrex blend of powerful organic herbs that support detoxification. And when you visit InfoWarsLife.com, see the instructional video on how to do a 6-day liver detox. This isn't a game, and let me tell you, the results are dramatic. Liver Shield is totally organic and made of the safest high-quality herbs. But that said, you need to consult your physician before you do the full detox. Liver Shield can also be used daily by itself for overall upkeep of the liver. Secure your Liver Shield today exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com for the lowest price available. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
But you want to put it on record that you're not planning to commit suicide?
No, I'm not planning to commit suicide. I'm planning to go into court on April 7th if indeed we do have the trial, and I plan on defending myself vigorously, and I plan on exposing the government in ways that, I do not think they want me to expose them. I want them to explain to me in open court why they came after me.
I mean, how would you not know that it was Cheney? And how do we know that Brandy Britton, one of your girls who committed suicide, didn't commit suicide?
Well, we don't know about that. There's two schools of thoughts. One says yes, one says no. But regarding Dick Cheney, he very possibly could have used the service. I don't remember him. I'm sure he used an alias.
This chilling phone call was recorded just 2 months before the D.C. Madam. The woman who could single-handedly take down Washington, D.C. was obviously murdered, similar to the way that people surrounding her died under mysterious circumstances. Back on May 3rd of 2008, Paul Joseph Watson wrote, "Evidence is stacking up to suggest that the alleged suicide of D.C. Madam Deborah Jean Palfrey was in fact a calculated murder, as the manager of Palfrey's Florida condo reveals that Palfrey was not suicidal when he spoke to her Monday and told him of her fears about a contract being out on her life." Watson continues, "The new testimony is backed up by at least 4 other recorded public statements on behalf of Palfrey, attesting to the fact that she would never commit suicide, and if she was found dead, to immediately suspect murder. She had been saying this since at least 1991. On May 6, 2008, Vanity Fair basically wrote Palfrey's obituary, catering to the District of Criminal Fears that her knowledge could expose. Vanity Fair painted her as a troubled woman on the path to suicide. D.C. Madam Deborah Jean Palfrey played a risky game in catering to Washington's power brokers with her upscale escort service. Her suicide this month marked a tragic and not unexpected end for a complicated woman who believed she was unfairly victimized. Following the death of Palfrey, Alex Jones appeared on Geraldo Rivera's show. to sort out the details.
Joining me now from Austin, Texas, the well-known radio host himself, the conspiracy theorist and documentary filmmaker Alex Jones. Alex interviewed Deborah Palfrey in March of this year when she told him what you just heard, that she would never commit suicide. So, Alex, welcome. What do you think? Do you believe this to be as the authorities say it is?
Geraldo, first off, thanks for having me on. She was a very nice lady, very genteel. There's no doubt in my mind that she was murdered. Let me just go through some of the basic evidence. She told me repeatedly on my radio show, and those interviews are posted at Infowars.com in full, that she would never kill herself, that she wasn't planning to kill herself. I pressed her during breaks in front of the board ops. I said, listen, this is dangerous. You've got to say who these people were. Do you know? And she said, well, I'm not going to say. I just want this all to end. And I said, you've got to say who it was or you're not safe. She said, listen, I'll never kill myself. If they claim that, I was murdered. So we have a tape of her saying she wouldn't commit suicide. Now, NBC in Florida, where she had a condo, is reporting that one of her friends, who was the manager of the high-rise condos, and he's on tape saying 2 days before she was killed, before she died, she left to her mother's and said, look, I'm being followed. I think there's a contract out on me. I'm not going to kill myself. This is on tape. Then you look at Brandy Britton. She was facing 6 months in jail last year, shot her mouth off, Miss Palfrey said, the D.C. madam said, and said, I'm going to talk about who my Johns are. This is hypocritical. She was a professor. She had a psychology degree. She was saying, this is hypocritical. I'm going to tell who my Johns were, and then she hangs herself. Number one, Geraldo, you've covered a lot of criminology. You know, women don't normally hang themselves. First, one of her girls kills herself. Now she kills herself.
They take pills.
Exactly. And on top of it, in fact, 90% of women take pills. That's the way they do it. Now, men shoot themselves and hang themselves. It's just that she told her mother, she told the person that managed the condos where she lived, that she was friends with, everybody, that she was going to go on and going to fight. Others that knew her said that she was going to write a book when she got out in about 6 to 7 months. Could have been as many as 70 months, but certainly not 50 years, as some were saying. And you have two women hanging themselves. I mean, this is ridiculous with these supposed, very wealthy, very powerful Johns. I think this is, quote, taking out the garbage.
What do you say, Judge?
Well, I had the opportunity, Geraldo, to interview Deborah Jean about a year ago, and I talked to her about Brandy Britton and her suicide. And what she said to me is, they don't just come and get you, they terrorize you. But she made it very clear that she was not made of that. And I agree with you, Alex.
Not made of that means she was not suicidal.
She was not suicidal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She was a woman who had a very strong core. She was a fighter from the get-go. And one of the things she said to me, Geraldo, was that, look, this isn't about madams. This isn't about prostitution. This is about me. Suggesting that there was no government program to take down prostitutes. There was a program she believed to take her down. Think about it. You've got a top State Department official. You've got a military strategist, a United States senator. You've got all of these individuals, lobbyists, paying for prostitutes. At the same time, you've got the head of the Maryland State Police who's being indicted and convicted for using the Executive Protection Unit to move the prostitutes around. You've got a federal prosecutor at that time who was murdered and who yet his case is unsolved. You've got all kinds of corruption going on.
I think I was the first to receive the CDs with the raw copies of Jean Palfrey's telephone records, and they included Verizon and the Bell Telephone Company at the time, Chesapeake and Potomac, or Bell Atlantic. I recall that one number that I pretty well locked in belonged to somebody who had been an official with Pat Robertson, the televangelist. And another number went right back to the Centrex switch of the Bush-Cheney transition team in 2000, which was located in the West Building in McLean, Virginia. Now, that's of interest. I didn't get anybody's name because it's the central switch you get to when you call Bush-Cheney transition team headquarters. But we do know that Ted Cruz was one of the lawyers for the Bush team and the Bush versus Gore legal issues going on down in Florida at the time.
Yes.
So, and he was traveling back and forth because he had been with the Bush-Cheney campaign. He actually joined the Bush campaign in 1999 in Austin. So I would not be surprised whether there were calls from Ted Cruz to the escort service, either from his own cell phone or from Bush-Cheney transition team headquarters at the West Building in McLean, Virginia.
Montgomery Blair Sibley, Palfrey's former attorney, claims to have her phone records.
I'll start with the gag order. That was entered back in May of 2007. It was to prevent me from releasing any telephone numbers of the D.C. Madam. It was partially modified to let me release telephone numbers alone, which we did, and that's how, through the crowdsource, we identified various people of prominence. Dan Moldea particularly identified Senator Vitter as one of the more prominent people on the list. Mm-hmm. It's reverse engineering of the identities of the escorts and the customers of the escort service.
Have those names been released? Are there presidential candidates within those 815? Is that what you're trying to get released with these appeals to the court?
Well, David, let me be very clear in answering that compound question so there's no confusion. Those names have not been released because I believe they are under the court orders preventing me and everyone else who may think they have them or not have them from releasing those orders. If you do so, you're in violation of court order, which is contempt, which is punishable by incarceration. Mm-hmm. And there originally, arguably, was a good reason for those orders. My position now is that those reasons have dissipated, and alternatively, my First Amendment right to give comment now trumps whatever original reasons existed for issuing those orders, and therefore I properly have asked to be heard on my motion to dissolve those restraining orders. The government will not let me file that request, and that's what all the litigation is about.
Here we are, 8 years later, with a lid tightly sealed on the dirty little secrets that could cost Ted Cruz and countless career politicians their cozy little positions in a corporatocracy manipulated by the ability to compromise and blackmail. And of course, we just had asked Deborah Palfrey's lawyer what Alex Jones had asked her 8 years prior.
Let me ask you, you're not contemplating suicide, right?
Oh, let's go on the record about that.
Yeah, let's do that.
There's too much joy ahead of me in my life, and this is only part of my life, please, that isn't even a passing fancy of mine.
John Bound for Infowars.com.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash and gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for. You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Introducing Secret 12, the new Infowars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Most forms of vitamin B12 are highly processed and synthetic and could not be properly absorbed by the body. That's why for real results, so many are having to turn to painful B12 injections, which are known to have higher absorption rates. Now, InfoWarsLife.com is excited to announce that we can bring you our most bioactive, powerful form of B12 that has been developed with our exclusive perfected process. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Discover the secret. Secret 12. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
Torture is an important issue by itself. There's the questions as to whether or not it makes us safer or less safe. Does it work? Is it lawful? Is it moral? But I think when we look at the current discussion within the context of the presidential election, it also tells us how they play the game. See, it's kind of new for them to come in and say, we're just going to stop the elections. We're not going to have an election. We're going to have a selection. We're going to pick the candidates, not you. That's something that's very new. But I want to take a look at how they're playing this game, because this is something they've been doing for a very long time. We've got the CIA director, just as we've had Michael Hayden, former NSA, former CIA director, come out, trying to get into a position of moral superiority, saying that they're not going to do any waterboarding, when these were the people who were actually doing it, and using that to interject themselves into the election to criticize Donald Trump. Is he really the only one who is calling for this? We now have CIA Director John Brennan going full Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird on us, and of course that was the CIA code name for controlling the media. And he says, talking about Donald Trump's they say, this is Politico, also part of Operation Mockingbird, saying this is one of Donald Trump's biggest campaign talking points. And John Brennan shut him down, saying his agency would not engage in waterboarding even if a future president were to order it. Now, this is exactly what Michael Hayden said. Okay, these are the guys who actually did the torturing. Okay, Michael Hayden did it. This is the guy, John Brennan, who was defending drone assassination. So Mr. Assassin takes the moral high ground here. He says, I will not agree to carry out some of these tactics and techniques I've heard bandied about because this institution, the CIA, needs to endure. Well, you know what? It's too late for the CIA to take the moral high ground. They don't have any credibility left. He said he would not agree to having any CIA officer carrying out waterboarding again. You know, Scout's honor. Now, has he always had this position? If you remember when he was having the confirmation hearings back in 2013, 2014, he had a very different story. This is what Politico said about him 2 years ago, actually about a year and a half ago, December 10th, 2014. John Brennan's zigzag on torture. They said during his February 2013 confirmation hearing to be the CIA director, John Brennan told senators he had come to doubt his previously held view, formed as a top agency official, that brutal CIA interrogation techniques had yielded valuable intelligence. He goes on to say, I do not know what the truth is. Now, that is the most truthful thing you'll ever hear coming out of his mouth. He doesn't even know what the truth is. You know, what is truth, as Pilate said. He said enhanced interrogation techniques did produce intelligence that helped thwart attack plans, capture terrorists, save lives, but he cited an unreleased internal CIA review, and he said the intelligence gained from the program was critical to our understanding of al-Qaeda and continues to inform our counterterrorism efforts to this day. It's the latest twist in Brennan's tangled history with the CIA's enhanced interrogations. Let's just call it what it is, okay? It's torture. The enhanced interrogation was a phrase that was created by the CIA, just like they created the phrase conspiracy theorists to cover up any investigation of what they were doing. They don't want you to look at it and call it torture, rather. He says he's repeatedly disavowed any personal role in the harsh practices. There you go. It's very self-serving. They say on torture, his assurance that he opposed waterboarding and would prohibit it at the CIA seemed to appease some senators concerned about human rights, but he told the Intelligence Committee that the report would be, quote, one of my highest priorities if he was confirmed. Now, Hayden wanted to cover up the reports about waterboarding, about enhanced interrogation, about torture. They say some Democrats who support him now say they feel misled by such assurances. They say they met with stiff resistance from his agency, including what they said was needless redaction, demands, and delaying tactics. And we now know, a couple of years later, how that all played out. They redacted pretty much everything. They engaged in incrimination, taking vengeance against the Democrat staffers who tried to put this out. We know how this has played out. But again, Reuters said the same thing back in December. They said torture, deny, and repeat. Enhanced interrogation never works. The CIA never learns. They say when the U.S. was attacked in 9/11, every member of the CIA's clandestine services had a rule book on the conduct of interrogations, and it was clear and concise. It outlawed the following methods: torture, cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment, or prolonged detention without charges or trials. And it was based on 5 decades of experience. So you understand, this isn't just Michael Hayden, who's been on both sides of this issue. This isn't just John Brennan being on both sides of this issue. As Reuters points out, this is institutionalized corruption. And then Brennan goes on to say, we have not concluded that it was the use of enhanced interrogation tactics, he said, that allowed us to obtain useful information from the detainees. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't I just read to you that he said it enhanced their understanding of al-Qaeda, that it was essential to what they were doing? And now he says this. It didn't allow any useful information for us to get it. So he's been on both sides of this. Now he's trying to say, he says it works, then he says it doesn't work, and now he's saying, well, I would never do this for any president. Nevertheless, Donald Trump keeps coming back saying that he wants to have waterboarding. He calls the refusal ridiculous. Now, I disagree totally with Donald Trump. He keeps saying, we're playing on different fields. We have a huge problem with ISIS, which is we can't beat them. And the reason we can't beat them is because we can't use strong tactics, whether it's this or the other thing. Now look, we don't beat them if we become them. We don't win by becoming what we fight. That's the essential problem with all of this. But Donald Trump, even though he's wrong on this issue, he's honest on the issue. And this is why I have a problem with Ted Cruz and the rest of the Republicans. And this is why, in spite of the fact that I find Donald Trump very authoritarian on so many issues, I don't find him as dangerous as Ted Cruz, who is on both sides of most of these issues. Take a look at how this played out prior to the New Hampshire primary. Ted Cruz comes in, tries to stake out a middle ground. He says, I wouldn't bring it back in any sort of widespread use, but then they say he left open the definition of what widespread meant. Then Jeb Bush at the time was still in it. He said, well, they said he was in the awkward spot of addressing his brother's controversial policies. He said, well, it was used sparingly in the past, but I don't think I would be resuming it. Okay? Then Ted Cruz gets stronger on it. He comes out and he unequivocally says, torture is wrong, unambiguously, period, the end. But like the sleazy lawyer that he is, he won't define what torture is for you until a couple of weeks later. That allows him to be on both sides of the issue, okay? So he said that on January the 21st, then on February the 16th, he comes out and he says, well, under the definition of torture, waterboarding is not torture. Under the law, torture is excruciating pain that's equivalent to losing organs and systems. No, it's not. I just read you the definition that was clearly understood by the CIA as to what torture was, and it doesn't take that. It is far more broad, far more comprehensive than that. But he goes on to say, so under the definition, it's not. It is enhanced interrogation. It is vigorous interrogation, but it does not meet the generally recognized definition of torture. Okay, and then goes on to say he's not going to bring it back widespread. Look, we executed people who water tortured our prisoners in World War II. There was no question about it. And he plays those kind of lawyer games. This is the same thing from John Kasich. He's mingling with the people who were actually doing the waterboarding and torture. Krongard holds this big fete for him at his Hamptons, giving a fundraiser for him. But then he plays like he's Mr. Rogers. We've seen the same thing. Of course, you had Dick Cheney coming out very hard as a champion of torture. Hillary Clinton, like these other guys, walking both sides of this. As one of her opponents said, she has a stomach for torture. First, she came out and said, well, have we fallen so low that we will debate how much torture we're willing to stomach? That was Hillary Clinton. He says, yet, like the other Democrats, she allowed it to come on the floor, knowing it would pass. And then within 2 weeks, barely 2 weeks of making an anti-torture speech, she made it clear that she herself did have a stomach for torture when she went to the New York Daily News, talked to the editorial board, said she was recognized that in some situations, interrogations called for severity. She says, well, there has to be some check, some balance. I don't mind if it's reporting in a top secret context. You know, like maybe she'll put it on her server. But she made it clear, they said, the editorial board said that it included mentions of waterboarding, hypothermia, and other methods that are recognized internationally as torture. Now, to get you to understand just how bad this is, take a look at this. No jail time for a judge who was caught torturing a defendant in his own courtroom. This person was representing himself. He had a bracelet on. He was speaking. The judge did not want him to speak. And so the judge said, Mr. Sheriff, do it, use it. And this defendant was shocked for 5 seconds with a 50,000 volt shock, screamed loudly throughout. And you can watch the video if you want to go to the Free Thought Project. That's justice in America. That's it for tonight's news. Join us again tomorrow night.
Knockout is back. If you want a product that has 10 known ingredients that naturally get your body to relax, your brain to relax, so you get deep, restful sleep, Knockout's it. Infowarslife.com. L-theanine, hops flower extract, lemon balm extract, valerian root extract, chamomile flower extract, L-tryptophan extract, melatonin, and more. All organic, all the natural sources. It's the same price as leading brands of melatonin that are 3 milligrams a piece. It has 3 milligrams, the standard recommended dose for an adult, and it just synergistically puts everything in there.
InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com, or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.